topic is acid rain. So this is my agenda. So I'm going to talk about what is acid rain, a pH scale, how acid rain forms, sources of SO2 and NOx, graphs for SO2 and NOx percentage, nature versus acid rain in other countries, map showing acid rain around the world, acid rain in Antarctica, protection and prevention, and I did an experiment, and the experiment is reaction of metal with acid. So what is acid rain? Acid rain is any form of precipitation with acidic components. It can be in wet rain, snow, etc., or dry forms like dust that is acidic. Rainfall is made by atmospheric pollution. The main cause is the industrial burning of coal and other fossil fuels. The waste gases which contain sulfur and nitrogen oxides combine with atmospheric water to form acids. It causes environmental harm, typically to forests and lakes. This is the pH scale I was talking about, and this is this side is alkaline and this side is more of acidic things. So alkaline, this is liquid drain cleaner, bleach, ammonia, baking soda, seawater, distilled water, rain, acid rain, soda, lemon juice, and battery acid. This is how acid rain forms. So first it starts from a body of water. It evaporates and a condensation, that means it turns into a cloud. Then precipitation, that means like snow, hail, sleet, and other precipitations. And then when the normal rainwater goes through these gases, NOx, which means nitric oxide or nitrogen oxide, or SO2, which means sulfur dioxide, and now it turns into acid rain and harms nature. These are the sources of SO2 and NOx. Burning of fossil fuels to generate electricity, 2/3 of SO2 and 1/4 of NOx in the atmosphere come from electric power generators. Vehicles and heavy equipment, manufacturing, oil refineries, and other industries are all sources of SO2 and NOx. These are some graphs for SO2 and NOx percentage. So SO2 is 10.4 million metric tons, and vehicles produce 5% of SO2. Electric utilities are 66%, and other things is 29%. For NOx is 14.8 million metric tons, and vehicles produce 58%, electric utilities produce 18%, and other things produce 24%. This is how acid rain harms nature. Acid rain burns and damages everything they come in contact with. Plants are very delicate, and when acid rain comes, plants will die. Animals might get hurt and lose homes. Ecosystems get damaged when it becomes more acidic and may not support life forms. This is where acid rain mostly comes, and protection from acid rain. Acid rain mostly comes in USA, China, Italy, and India. North America and Europe are highly industrialized and in the past had more pollution than other parts of the world. Some countries in Asia, especially China and India, have developed acid rain at rapid rates as more factories, power plants, and number of cars continue to grow. People use special plastic covers to protect themselves and their belongings, including houses, cars, houses, and plants. The acid rain problem around the world map. Green means potential problems areas because of sensitive soils. Yellow means potential problems of areas because of air pollution emissions leading to acid deposition. And red means current problem areas including lakes and rivers. So in Europe there is a lot of red, and in North America there is also a lot of red. So there's a lot of current problems there. In Africa and a little bit of Asia and South America all have problems because of sensitive soils, and North America and Europe have yellow. That means potential problems areas because of air pollution. So there's a lot of air pollution there. And I'm going to talk about, does acid rain come in Antarctica? Acid rain is super rare in Antarctica because acid rain is formed when pollution gases like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide come together. There are no people who live in Antarctica, so there are no toxic gases created by humans. This is how to prevent acid rain. To prevent acid rain, try carpooling. That's when 2 or more people go in one car instead of going in separate cars. You can also build less factories, stop burning fossil fuels, and use renewable energy like wind and solar energy, or buy an electric car. This is my experiment. When there is a no acid, a paper clip will just be your average paper clip. But when there's a little acid, the paper clip will turn white. If there is a lot of acid, the metal will rust and look dark brown. Here is what my experiment looked like. Thank you.
Woo! Wow, good job, Surya. That was very interesting. I have to say I did not know much about acid rain. I would say you taught me most of what I now know about acid rain. Great job. Well, let me go ahead, and I see lots of people clapping in their videos. And that whole time, Surya, I don't know if you were able to see, but I could see everyone in their videos. They were just very interested. So great job, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, I can really tell that you did some really, really good research, and you were one of the few people who you already had a topic that you were ready to research. So has that been something that you've been interested in for a while now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I could tell, and you really are very knowledgeable. So I want to see, part of our innovation hour is we like to collaborate and ask questions and things like that. So for those of you who have questions for Surya, if you could click your raise hand button, and then Surya, why don't you call on people, and then you can just respond to them.
Me? You are the smartest kid I've ever found.
Oh, well, that's a nice compliment, Neve. I guess you just had a compliment instead of a question. Okay, why don't you go ahead and call on someone?
Amazing job. How do you know so much? I did a lot of research. Thank you. And when you experimented, what was that little brown thing in one of the cups? Can you repeat that?
Like, when you did your experiment, what was the little brown thing that you put inside the paper clip? What was that?
That was just the acid that didn't evaporate.
Oh, okay. Can acid destroy metal?
Yes.
Okay. Deb, why don't you go ahead and ask him your question?
Does it affect humans too?
Yes.
Can you explain how?
Yes. It affects humans because acid burns and it can destroy houses and plants and food, and it can also harm humans because it burns.
Oh, so that's how they do it. Well, it can go through stuff. If that thing is not like.
Okay, hang on, Amar. You gotta raise your hand, buddy, because Deb was still in the middle of his. I don't know if he was still responding or what, but we got to make sure we're being respectful of everyone. Okay.
Amar. Amar.
Yes.
You have your hand up. So do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Chinmai.
Is there any place on Earth except Antarctica where acid rain never forms?
So actually Antarctica does have a little bit of acid rain, but the Arctic, yeah, there also, there's a little acid, only a little acid rain and super rare to form there.
Okay.
Amira?
Is there which continent has the least acid?
The continent with the least acid rain is Africa. I mean Australia, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Rashi, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, Rashi?
What's the most area that has the most acid rain?
I explained that, but I can tell it again. The USA, Europe, Italy, India, and China.
I mean, like the most common times, like the most times, like not all the time USA, like the most common times.
Like when the acid rain comes, like the
Yeah.
most?
Yeah, like the most common country or continent.
Like country or continents is the most common continent and or countries are continent is Europe, and the most common country it comes in is the USA.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Eamon?
Is there a way you can hide from acid?
Well, you can go to a different place where there is no acid rain.
What, Mahika? Did you still have a question? Okay.
It's not a question; it's a compliment.
Okay. Go ahead.
I really like your presentation, and when you're answering Deb's question, you just gave me an idea for DI.
Oh,
Thank you.
Awesome. That's cool. Okay, there's a few more people who still have their hand up, buddies. So I see Anna, Vadona, Hanchika. Do you want to go ahead and call on one of them?
Anna.
Anna?
Is Antarctica the only like continent that acid rain rarely comes?
It's not where it really comes, it's where it mostly doesn't come.
I think you said rarely.
Oh, rarely?
Yes. Yeah.
Hanchika.
What?
Your hand is up.
Okay, it's just that my question about your project is, it's just that why does acid rain even harm nature?
Because it really burns, and it burns the leaves of trees, and it really hurts for animals, and it can burn down. So, for example, bugs sometimes live under rocks and leaves. The acid rain will just burn down the leaves, and the rocks will get really damaged and small. That's part of my experiment. Like metal, the metal reacts and it turns rusty and hard.
So it not only hurts the animals, but also hurts their home and their habitats too. So if they don't have a shelter, then right?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. I think a few other people raised their hand, and I still see that Adona still has her hand up. So I know that she's been waiting patiently.
Adona.
So I have one compliment. That's hard to say. So I never noticed what those things are, and I had never.
Oh, I think your sound kind of cut out there a second, Adona.
Yeah.
Your sound was cutting out.
I really wanted, so I'm really interested to know more if you are.
Yeah, it's cutting out.
Yeah, we're not able to hear you, honey, because it's your microphone is cutting out really bad, Adona. So we can't really hear you whenever you're talking.
Bad quality.
Yeah, bad network, I think.
It's completely saying good already.
Okay. All right. Why don't there's a few more friends that have their hands up. We have a few more minutes, so I think I saw Dia and Aris. They had their hands up. So you want to answer their questions before we wrap it up?
Okay. Aris.
When acid rains destroys a tree, does it fall or the leaves just die?
Like that's a good question. The leaves fall down, but sometimes if the trunk is really short, it might fall down.
Thank you.
That was a really good question, and thank you for saying that to him, Surya. That was a very interesting question. Dia, did you have a question still?
Yeah, so you know how you were saying that acid is very hot, so it like affects humans and like plants and all living things. But we have acid in our bodies and we don't get affected.
Because stomach acid, it helps you digest, and you're used to it, and it doesn't burn that much.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And there's a certain healthy level of acid in your body, but there's also you can have an unhealthy level too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Chinmayi, did you want to ask one more question?
I forgot what it is.
Oh, okay. Guys, can y'all real quick, if y'all could, if your hand is up, so I see Dev, Mahika, Hanshika, Adona, Chinmayi, Aras, a few people that still have their hand up. If you're done with your question, if you could lower it, that way we know who's still waiting to ask something. And then that way we can finish up with our final few questions. So go ahead and call on those last three people. Surya?
Now I remember.
Oh, you remember? Okay, go ahead.
So it was kind of a compliment mixed up with the question. The compliment was Surya gave me an idea for like a problem in DI, and the question was, does non-living things get affected by acid too?
Yes, like metal, it got affected by rusting, and rocks, they also burn and they turn black or brownish, or the size might get lower or smaller.
I have a question, Surya.
Okay.
I've noticed that sometimes, when things are left outside and they get rusty and stuff like that, I'm wondering, is there times where there is a small level of acid in our normal rain that maybe we don't necessarily, but it affects the plants and the things that we have outside?
Well, rain is a little bit acidic, but it doesn't actually affect trees and plants that much.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, wow, guys. I have to say that was very impressive, Surya. And very, very interesting. And when I tell you I did not know much about acid rain before your presentation, I really didn't. And I really feel like you taught us a lot. Do you guys agree? I do too. Well, let's go ahead. Let's give him a big round of applause. If y'all could unmute for me. Go ahead and unmute so he can hear us.